There is so much to be grateful for, and it is the week of Thanksgiving. And we ought to have gratitude in our hearts every day, and don't let anyone deprive you of your wonderful Christian heritage. I always love to go back and look at the bravery of the Pilgrims because you know what? Going out and embarking on a voyage into the unknown, across the sea, and let alone the vessel that you bought to take you on that trip was totally unprepared. So you had to go out and take a second vessel, your second pick, which was even a little more shady, and it's a 170-ton merchant vessel known as the Mayflower. You've got this little tiny craft that's meant to go around the coast of Europe, and yet now you're going to be going on this voyage into the unknown. Why? In the name of God, to the glory of God, and for the advancement of the Christian faith. Amen. The sheer courage it takes to go on a voyage like that, to go and found a new society. One of the things I love about the Mayflower Compact is it talks about doing it for, their fellow countrymen. And oftentimes, if we were to hear that language today, we might think about people who are around us, our neighbor across the street, maybe someone we saw in the store, or a coworker, or a relative, or something like that. But when they're talking about their fellow countrymen, what they're referring to is actually people down the, pathway of time, down the river of time, their great-grandchildren, maybe their great-great-great-great-grandchildren. Hopefully, someone out there will be able to have a honest and godly society, because everywhere around them there's tyrannies of King George, King James, go all the way back to the era of Robin Hood, or Robin Hood as we might say in modern English, coming out of the Crusades. You have Prince John, who was very petty and corrupt. You have all this stuff throughout the world. And yet the Pilgrims, they even saw that inside the church there were a lot of unbelieving, corrupt people using the church to wrong ends. Really, you had almost non-believers running the church. I hate to rule that sort of judgment on the soul, but that's the way that things, they appear a lot of times. But the Pilgrims, they wanted to go out and have a real Christian society, and that is the foundation of Thanksgiving. And we shouldn't be ashamed of that. We should be very proud of it. It's good. It's something which is absolutely lovely. And when you go to Proverbs 25, I love Proverbs 25, but I want to go to an unusual verse in that. Proverbs 25:25, which says, "As cold waters to a thirsty soul, so is good news from a far country." Now we here in our modern day and age, with our technology, our letters, our post offices, we can't even imagine hearing good news from a foreign country that wasn't anticipated before it arrived. But it's a wonderful thing. There's nobility, there's adventure in that verse. There is life, there is the great liege that you might have for your Lord that is there. There is the idea of having nobility and honor in your character, that you would be out travailing in the world, going through the hardship, doing or suffering. You're alive. You're really out there in the beauty of it all. And it's difficult. Life, it's a mortal game. It's very serious. We're playing for eternal stakes here. Better is the poor and wise youth than the old and foolish king who won't be admonished. And sometimes better is the poor and wise youth who goes to be with the Lord in that young age than the one who lives a long time doing nothing, only to find themselves in the vanity of hell. I really do have this short little message today. I know it's just a few days before Thanksgiving, but I want us to have as much attention for this as possible. Last year was the 400th anniversary of Thanksgiving, and almost nothing was said about that anywhere, and that's a shame. It's also a bad sign of the time because there's no innocent reason to ignore that. We should all be so excited to be grateful that we go in, we honor our heritage. But in the book Beowulf, I'm also grateful for Beowulf. I love the Tolkien translation of Beowulf. It's really cool. But Beowulf there, when considering Grendel, this great and terrible villain, Beowulf is resolved that he's going to fight him with his hands, and he makes the statement, he says, "I too then will disdain," which means to throw away, "to bear either sword or wield a shield, to be yellow boss, to battle, nay, with my gripe," or as we have in modern English, with my gripe alone I shall seize upon the foe, and engage a mortal contest with hate against hate. There to the judgment of the Lord shall he resign himself, whom death doth take. And that idea, that I'm going to go out and I'm going to fight. Maybe I'm Beowulf fighting Grendel with my bare hands, and I'm going to rip his arm right out of his shoulder. Maybe I'm the Pilgrims who say, we're going to get on this 170-ton merchant vessel, the Mayflower, as we've rechristened her. We're going to take that across the unknown, into a world of the unknown, for the glory of God, in the name of God, and to the advancement of the Christian faith. And we're doing this before the judgment of God. We take nothing but our gripe alone, our hands, the things we can bear on our shoulders. And to use that beautiful poetic language, there to the judgment of the Lord shall he resign himself, whom death doth take. Those are the real stakes we're playing for. Seek to save your life by the things of the world and you'll lose it. Go out on the adventure of holiness, the adventure of life, the adventure of being a real saint. Go out there and honor your Lord and find out whom he takes. That's the real wager of the Pilgrims. We're going to go out and found a new society, and we're going to, may the Lord judge us by death. And by that, if we live, we prosper. The Lord's hand will be with us. If the Lord should choose to take us home, so be it. It's a little bit like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego there in Daniel chapter 3. They don't at all anticipate God sparing them from the furnace. They actually tell Nebuchadnezzar, they say, you know what? You don't even need to play the music to see if we bow down to your golden statue, your foolish and petty idolatry. Because here's the thing: if God spares us, then that's great. But even if He doesn't spare us, we're not bound down. So go ahead and throw us in the furnace. We're not bound down. That's the attitude we need to have. So thank you all for joining me. I'm Pastor J. Dillon Proctor. God love you and have a blessed day and have a happy Thanksgiving and love and honor your heritage. Amen.